The Jimmy Z Show.
All right, next up on the Jimmy Z Show, very happy to have Debra J.M. Smith. Her website is informingchristians.com. Debra, welcome once again to the Jimmy Z Show.
Thank you, Jimmy.
You wrote what I consider to be a very important article because, as you know, I'm the one thing that is more important to me than trying to save the United States of America, and it's being truthful and honest and always getting the story right. I want to tell you something up front. I just got, this was November 15th. Bill Keller sends out a daily devotional, and the title of this devotional was "The U.S. Government Reaches a New Low in Reaching Out to Young Adults." And it's about these advertisements that we're going to talk about today. I posted your article on Facebook yesterday, and I got a couple of really nice comments. And then one person wrote a comment and simply said, "Who cares?" Now, he wasn't talking about who cares about the ads. He was talking about who cares where the money came from. And personally, I think this is very important, but I want you to explain, because you did a lot of legwork to get this information. And so my question is, why should we care about whether or not the U.S. government was funding these ads?
For a couple reasons. I mean, one, that's what a lot of the right-wing articles are saying, is that the U.S. government funded these, that it came from the Obama administration.
Right.
So we should care, because if it's not true, we should care that it's being said incorrectly and correct it. Our integrity is at stake here. We don't want to behave like people that we say people on the left are behaving like, where they don't care about the truth. I mean, we see Nancy Pelosi right now, I mean, just lying through her teeth about Obamacare. I mean, it's like, and you would hope that some people who follow her and hang on her every word would say, okay, wait a minute, this is just she's lying.
It's too much. It's shocking. She goes on television and says that what Obama said was right in the first place. It was never wrong. Well, then why did Obama, of all people, apologize? Obama would never have apologized if this wasn't the case. And I think it's so important that people have correct information, because, look, Barack Obama is doing plenty of things that he's actually doing that we can criticize. And I don't think it does us any good at all to be criticizing him for something that he and his administration and the federal government had nothing to do with.
Right. We don't want to behave, as the Bible would put it, like those who are going down in the pit. You know, we don't want to behave like that. We can be angry at something, but do not sin in our anger. And lying is lying, and being mistaken is not lying. But once someone knows the truth, if they continue with the incorrect information, then they're lying. And we don't want to behave like that. We want to have integrity. We want to be the people that someone who is looking for some honesty would say, okay, these are the people I want to listen to because they have honesty. And that's what we want. We want to be honest. But another reason is that the real story is being missed here.
Yeah.
The real story is that there really are these community type of activist groups that really, truly, on their own, with donated money. I mean, it is donated money, but not from the government.
Right.
Okay.
That's
not
right.
These two particular groups that put this particular ad campaign together. It was not done with government money. Now, I'm not going to say there's none out there, but I'm talking these two particular groups that came together and made the Got Insurance campaign, ad campaign. They did not get the money from the government. So we're missing the real story, that there are actually community groups. We know now of at least two in Colorado. The one is Progress Now Colorado, and the other is Colorado Consumer Health Initiative. And the real story is that there are groups that make themselves sound like they may even be part of the state, but they're not. I spoke with the department with the state of Colorado for insurance, and no, these two groups are not part of the state. This funding didn't come from the state. The funding didn't come from the federal government either. I spoke with someone on the inside of the one group, and no, this money did not come from the government, either federal or state. But it's interesting. We need to see, so these liberal groups are this is how they're acting on their own with donated funds from other sources, and they also make themselves sound like they are part of the state. And this to me is newsworthy in and of itself, and it's being missed.
Now, I wanted to ask you something very important, because I think the listeners would probably like to know what it was about this story, about these ads. We're talking about the God Insurance ads, and I talked about one of these ads on my show where the girl has her birth control pills and she's ready to go to bed with a guy, and it's really crass. But what was it about these ads that made you decide that you're going to find out where the money came from?
Well, good question. Where it says something about hope it's as easy to get him in between the sheets. Is that
in between
how
the covers.
Said it? And referred to the two people as Susie and I got to open up the picture here.
Yeah, it's Susie and Nate, hot to trot.
Hot to trot. And I thought, I'm not going to say whether Obama would or wouldn't have done this without, maybe as a joke without anyone knowing, but I don't even think Obama is stupid enough to do this. To be responsible for this ad.
He might like it.
He might like it. He might do it as a joke in private. But those who are pulling his strings, because I have come to realize that he's just a puppet. I used to think that he was, this devil man, and now I realize he's just a puppet. At this time, I do think he's a hellbound puppet, but he's definitely, his strings are being pulled. He reads the teleprompter, or gets fed in his ear what to say. So those who are behind him, behind the liberal movement in this country, I do not think would have gone this far. I just don't think that.
Now there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with you, and they're going to say, of course. Valerie Jarrett and the Obama administration and all of these radical pro-choice, pro-abortion, pro-homosexual marriage lunatics in Washington, D.C. would go this far. But I tend to agree with you. I think this whole idea that she's holding her birth control pills and she's got her thumbs up and she's hot to trot and she thinks this guy is so hot. I don't think he's hot, but I'm straight, so what do I know? I think he looks kind of sleazy, but they're going to get together and get between the sheets. It's completely crass, and it's not surprising to me that this was not a federal ad.
Right, that, and they had one with Ryan Gosling. It turns out they have two, but the one that I originally saw, it looked like they were making it look as if he was in the picture, and it was clearly a Photoshop that put him in the picture.
Yeah.
And when I called the one place that the one of the two groups that actually put this ad campaign together, I asked a woman there, does Ryan Gosling know that you've used his picture? And, well, the bottom line was no. She tried to hem and haw and say, I'm sure it'd be okay. So I'm like, no, he doesn't know. And that's what it came down to. And yesterday I contacted two places. One that would be his agent, and golly, I forget the title of what the other person was, but I contacted two places to let them know. So it'll be interesting to see if anything happens. Obviously, this Ryan Gosling, even if he is a liberal, he's I would think he wouldn't want this done for, at the very least, he's not getting paid for it. It's his name, it's his face, and he's famous. But who knows? Maybe he's fine with it. But now he's going to at least know it's being done.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It looks like a stand-up, like a flat stand-up that she's standing in front of. But it's another crass insurance ad. And here's the other thing I wanted to ask you about. Because you told me, how much did they spend putting these ads together and promoting them on social networks?
I was told by an inside source of one of the two groups $5,000 that they had spent.
Okay, so here's my concern, because the more I've thought about this, the more concerned I became. Mostly because I played a part in this as well. I am as guilty as anyone else, but it looks to me like conservatives talking about this. I talked about it. Rush Limbaugh talked about it. I think a number of radio hosts talked about it. A number of people on Facebook spread it around. We did these people a great big favor.
Yes.
in promoting these ads. And
Did you notice the one night?
I'm kind of sick about that.
Yeah, their website reached its maximum bandwidth. One night,
I'll bet that's because of conservatives.
Absolutely,
because we're the ones that are outraged. I bet you most people who are liberal were probably giving a big yawn when they saw this, because this is the way they think.
Right. Well, yeah, that or maybe some people from Colorado, because that's where it's out of, may have gone to the site, and at first, I was thinking that it could have been a scam to get people's identities, because it says, the things you need, and one of the things is your social security number. Another was information on your finances, stuff like that. And when I originally had called the state, a woman called me back and left a message saying, oh yeah, that has to be a phishing scam that's going to steal your identity. Yeah, don't ever trust that, la la la. Well,
wait a minute. Let me back up for a minute. Why did they need that information? What website needed that information, and for what purpose?
It was this Got Insurance website, doyougotinsurance.com. Is it .com or .?
Yes, .com.
And so even this woman from the state of Colorado, she had gone to the I think the insurance department of the state, and she was told, oh yeah, that's not us. That's probably phishing and going to steal identities. But she had given me a number for a man who was with the insurance for the state, and he and I we talked a couple phone conversations, and that's when we finally figured out no, it's not a scam to get your identity. It's quite literally they say you need to have this stuff ready, and then they're going to take you to a page that helps you find an insurance agent that I assume would be licensed by the state. So they're just basically saying, have this information ready, because when you find an agent, you're going to need this information.
Okay.
So it turned out not to be something to steal your identity. However, we do now know that the news has been that even the Obamacare website is not secure.
Right.
So,
right.
Theoretically, I guess anytime you put anything over line, if you're not on a secure site, you could get your identity stolen theoretically.
Yeah, and this is a bigger problem for the Obamacare website than the fact that it doesn't run, is the fact that it's not secure, and that it's impossible for me to understand what they were thinking when they put together a website and did not put. It's a website about people's health insurance, and they did not make security a priority. It boggles the mind.
Well, it kind of gives us an idea of how secure our private health information will be in so many years.
Yeah, which I'm gonna wait as long as I can, possibly, to keep from doing that. I'm on the doyougotinsurance.com website. That's Colorado, right?
Yes.
This is for Colorado. What a crass website this is.
Yeah, but it shows these are the people these are the people who really, really wanted this. It shows their mentality. It shows the mentality of the people who put the Nancy Pelosi's in office and is keeping the Nancy Pelosi's in office.
Yeah, that's a good point, because this is how they think, and this is how they view the American people.
Oh yeah, I asked the woman who the woman who finally said that no, Ryan Gosling did not know. I asked her. I says, "Don't you think these ads are just a bit insulting to women, degrading to women, and our young people, young adults?" And she very quickly and very sharply, "No."
Wow, that's unreal.
You know, you just wish you were in person to see, you know, her look on her face, you know. I mean, they really believe that it's okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to take that back. Do they really believe it, or is that why they're pushing it?
Now,
you know,
when
think someone pushes, as I think a lot of this has to do with sex outside of marriage.
Oh, absolutely. Because nobody wants to give up the ability to get down anytime they want to, with anyone they want to, because that's the way a lot of people think.
Right, and if they were so secure in their belief, would they need the rest of the world to believe the way they believe?
Yeah,
so maybe there's something insecure that or we have to go the conspiracy theory that these are really Russians. You know?
No. Well, no. What she and the people like her are doing is, since they believe that most Americans, and maybe they're right, most Americans are living kind of shady lives, but because they view the American people in this terrible way, they think that they're doing good work. They think that it's important to do what they're doing because look at the way the Americans are living. We've got to make sure, like, for instance, people are having sex anytime they want, so we've got to get birth control in the woman's hand.
Right. They're using what they do and hoping that others want to do the same thing, and they're pushing all this sex because I think they know, especially young people. You remember the story of what happened with my youngest daughter in the state college she went to for 1 year. Okay, we transferred her out of there after just 1 year, and she ended up going to the same private college, still mainstream, but private college that her sister was going to. But the first year we thought, save some money, go to a state college. One of the things that they did in this, it was supposed to be a class. The way it sounded was like it was going to kind of help you figure out what kind of courses you wanted to take for the direction you wanted to go with your education. But what they were really doing was weaving in all this liberalism. And one class they did on sex. And they treated all these young adults. Becky was technically still 17, but most of them were probably 18. Mm-hmm. And they had a demonstration of a condom on a, thing, a plastic thing, and had a girl come up from in the class and demonstrate how to put the condom on. And then they had a teacher or professor or someone saying, okay, so what do you do if the condom breaks? You go to their medical facility and get the morning after pill. And don't worry that your parents might see that on a cost thing. Just tell your parents you needed some Tylenol or something,
Boy.
So they were teaching these young adults to have sex, to lie to their parents, to get an abortion. And while this talk was all going on, they were handing around a basket that had candy with condoms mixed in with it. And when that basket came to my daughter, she took the basket, she sat it on a counter, and she walked out.
Good for her.
And called me, and long and short of it, because I went back and forth with the, I forget the title of the professor who has to do with the curriculum, but there's an actual title for that type of person in a college, and I can't remember the title. But he and I went back and forth on a phone call, and I was telling him, like, you're treating all these young adults like they would have sex outside of marriage. I says, you owe every lady, and technically guy too, really, in that class an apology. I says, you definitely, I want an apology to my daughter. And if you were a gentleman, you would apologize. And he's like, well, I'm not going to. I says, well, then you're no gentleman. And
because we went totally over the line. And
forth. It was crass, just like these ads. Crass, rude. I told him, I says, if you ever did this with your faculty members, said to the women, well, if you're having sex with your, another faculty member and you get pregnant, just go to the morning after pill, and if your husband sees it, just tell him it was a Tylenol on the bill. I mean, you'd get sued. I told him, I says, you'd get sued for sexual harassment.
Yeah, but they can do it to the kids because that's the way they view the kids.
And that's what I really see, Jimmy, that this ad campaign is targeting. The same kids that college was targeting.
And it's coming from the same mentality.
I agree.
Well, I think you did a very important work here, and I do think it's vital that we get these things right, and I'm glad to know that the federal government didn't have anything to do with this. And I think it's important that everybody know that, because we've got specific things we need to be critical of Obama about. And once again, thanks for your work on informingchristians.com.
Thank you.
The Jimmy Z Show.